classes I went to once upon a time, we had a pastor leading it who had been a part of a three-point charge. And what he said then was, the first time you give a sermon, it's practice. The second time you give it, it's the best you'll ever give it. And the third time you give it, you're so sick of it, even you don't want to hear it again. So for the past year, you've gotten the second preaching every week, and you got the better sermon. I'm not so sure today, because I can't preach the same sermon here today. Somehow you're not closing, so I'm not going to go into the history of Christ Church from here. And even the scriptures are different. And I have to say, I think this week they got the better sermon. Because I've been preparing it longer, because he saw the future coming. So for that, I'm sorry. But I will do the best I can. And when Mimi asked me for the scriptures, I went with my favorite, Matthew 25. And then as I got ready for this morning, I thought, and what does this have to do with change or leaving? It doesn't. And actually, we talked about the passage from Joel where my men will dream dreams and men and women will prophesy, that sort of thing. I like that one because it has the women in there. But I have to say, this is my favorite passage. You see, I think there's two keys in the Gospels. The first one is when they ask Jesus for the greatest command. And what he says is, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with your strength. And the second like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Some say Jesus said this first, but there's a school of thought that one of the old Jewish rabbis actually came up with it. It was basically, can you say the entire Torah while standing on one foot? Now, Torah's 600 laws, right? And all the commentary that goes with it. And he says, love God, love your neighbor, the rest is commentary. And that's really what it comes down to for us. I like Matthew 25 because it begins to give us practical guidance of how do we go about loving our neighbor. We feed the hungry. We give water to the thirsty. We clothe the naked. We meet their basic human needs, whether it be for physical needs or their emotional needs, for comfort, for care, to be with each other. I think it's one of the reasons why it becomes so important for the congregation to come together as a body, because that's where we first begin to realize how we care for each other. When we get to know each other and we know our needs, we know that Mary is sick and she's having a difficult time. When we walk with Dorothy down her journey, which is not easy, or hold up Donnie and Johnny as they support her, knowing that's equally tough. When Brenda and Ted walk their journey, and we walk that journey with them, and we try to find the real and tangible ways we can show our love for them. And by doing so, we also show God. We love God. Because when we love God's people, we're merely reflecting what God has given us. And no matter where we are or where we go, that compassion serves us for the rest of the world. So I can have compassion for the young man from the Congo who walks across countries so he can go to school that we have provided. When I can go down to the border, or the bishops go down to the border and they hand communion through the fence so that we can be one body and care for each other. Yes, our situations change. Life is not constant. But God's love is always constant. And the love we receive is constant. And the love we can share with the world is ever present. I think that's what God calls us to be. As the body of faith, as a community of believers, even when we face change and go on. God's love is there. And God will see us through, and God has a plan for this congregation. I am convinced of it. I believe you're going to be fine. Because you have what it takes. You have the hospitality to welcome the stranger in. Mary Allison said she's really looking forward to being with you all next week. She's excited for something new and more people. She's excited. I know you'll be fine. You serve God, you feed the hungry, and I know you would give water to the thirsty, and you'll care for the poorest among you. And the only thing I would leave to encourage you with is make sure you invite that person next door and down the street, however many times it happens. And whoever's up here this week, I pray that they'll give you something that you can invite people to. And I know you'll take whatever ideas and run with them as you have with me. And that's what will make it special. It's not one person, it never is. It's a community of faith. And you will